Hello everyone, welcome to AppleKnows. I am your guide today, an apple with a taste for the strangest and most mind-bending geography facts on Earth, and I promise you once we start, you will not want to stop listening. Imagine this, there is a town in Norway where the sun does not set for 76 days in summer, but in the same place in winter the sun never rises for months. The human mind struggles to grasp it, yet people there live, work, and even go jogging at 2 in the morning under a sky that looks like afternoon. Now let me take you to Egypt, but not the pyramids you already know. Here is the shocking truth, the Great Pyramid of Giza was once the tallest human-made structure on Earth for more than 3,800 years, and it is aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal points of the compass. Nobody truly understands how ancient engineers managed such accuracy without modern tools, and some researchers believe its alignment with Orion's belt is not a coincidence but a deliberate cosmic map. But geography gets stranger the deeper you go. For example, did you know there is a lake in Tanzania called Lake Natron that literally turns animals into statues? Its waters are so alkaline that when birds and bats fall in, the minerals preserve their bodies almost like stone. Photographers have captured these eerie statuesque animals standing on the shore, and they look like artworks from another world, but they are real victims of this deadly natural chemistry. And if you thought rivers are always flowing from higher ground to lower ground, think again. There is a river in Brazil called the Rio Negro that meets the Amazon River, but the two waters do not mix for miles. The black acidic water of the Rio Negro and the sandy-colored water of the Amazon flow side by side, refusing to blend because of differences in temperature, speed, and density. You can literally sail on one side of the boat through coffee dark water and on the other side through caramel brown. Let me drop another shocker, the summit of Mount Everest may be the highest point above sea level, but it is not actually the farthest point from the center of the Earth. That honor belongs to Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador, because our planet bulges at the equator. Stand on Chimborazo, and you are technically farther from Earth's core than anyone on Everest, even though Everest is taller. Geography is not just about height, it is about the shape of the whole planet. And if you still think Earth is predictable, listen to this. In Alaska, there is a place where you can stand with one foot in the eastern hemisphere and the other in the western hemisphere, literally straddling the line of the international dateline. It means in a few steps you can travel from today into tomorrow or from tomorrow back into yesterday. Locals even joke that they can have breakfast in one day and dinner in the previous one without ever leaving their town. These are not myths, these are the raw facts of our strange planet, and the deeper we look, the more it feels like Earth is playing tricks on us. Would you like me to continue unraveling even crazier geography facts that most people cannot believe are true? Then let's keep going, because the Earth has no shortage of surprises. Picture this, there is a small town in Canada called Alert, located at the very top of the world, just 817 kilometers from the North Pole. What makes it shocking is that despite being so far north, it is permanently inhabited by humans. Soldiers and scientists live there year-round, enduring temperatures that can plunge below -40 degrees Celsius, with months of darkness followed by months of sunlight. Imagine living in a place where your body forgets what a normal day feels like. Now think about rivers again. Most rivers flow into seas or oceans, but not all of them. The Okavango River in Africa does something almost rebellious. Instead of reaching the ocean, it spills into the sands of the Kalahari Desert and disappears, creating a massive inland delta full of wildlife. Hippos, lions, elephants, and crocodiles thrive in this oasis, all because a river decided to stop flowing and vanish into dry land. Speaking of deserts, here is a fact that blows minds. The largest desert in the world is not the Sahara. It is actually Antarctica. A desert is defined not by heat, but by lack of rainfall, and Antarctica receives less precipitation than most hot deserts. It is the coldest, driest, and windiest place on Earth, yet beneath its thick ice lie massive mountains, lakes, and even hidden valleys untouched for millions of years. Some scientists believe that life forms found there could help us understand what life might look like on Mars. But let me shift your focus to something that feels like a glitch in geography. There is a border town between Belgium and the Netherlands called Barle, where the line separating the countries cuts through restaurants, houses, and even front doors. In some cafes, your table might be in Belgium while your chair is in the Netherlands. People literally switch countries just by walking across the room. To make it even crazier, some houses are split, with the front door deciding which nation you belong to. And here is something that feels almost supernatural. There is a mountain in Australia called Mount Augustus that looks like a single giant rock. It is so huge that it is more than twice the size of the famous Uluru, which many people already consider the largest monolith. From a distance, it looks like one massive piece of stone rising from the desert, but geologists reveal it is actually a complex structure of folded rock layers, making it even more mysterious. But perhaps nothing tests human imagination more than Death Valley in California. It is the hottest place on Earth, but what shocks geologists is the mystery of the sailing stones. These massive rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, move across the desert floor on their own, leaving trails behind them. For decades, no one could explain it, until researchers discovered that thin sheets of ice and wind combine to slowly push the stones. Still, seeing giant rocks that seem to travel without human touch feels like a scene from science fiction. Then let's peel back more layers, because the planet has no end of surprises waiting. Imagine a waterfall that doesn't look like a waterfall at all. In Greenland, beneath the icy surface of the ocean, there is something called the Denmark Strait Cataract. It is the largest underwater waterfall in the world, taller than 3 Everests stacked together. Cold, dense Arctic water plunges downward into warmer Atlantic water, creating a hidden cascade that no human eye can truly see, yet it dwarfs every waterfall on land. Now let's zoom into the heart of Africa. Did you know there is a place where you can stand in 4 countries at the same time? It's called the Quadrupoint, at the borders of Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Technically, the meeting is so narrow it's debated whether it's a true quadrupoint, but from the right spot you can move your foot and cross international borders like you are playing hopscotch with nations. And if you think the land under your feet is stable, think again. There is a town in Turkey called Derinkuya, an underground city carved out of soft volcanic rock. It goes down more than 18 stories, large enough to house 20,000 people, their livestock, and supplies. This entire hidden world was built thousands of years ago, and it had everything from ventilation shafts to wine cellars. Imagine living your entire life under the earth, safe from invaders, never seeing sunlight for months. But the earth also has places that flip your sense of direction. In France, there's a hill known as Magnetic Hill, and in several spots around the world too, where cars left in neutral seem to roll uphill against gravity. It's an optical illusion created by the surrounding landscape, but when you see it with your own eyes, your brain screams that the laws of physics have just been broken. Here is one that always shocks people: Africa is actually splitting apart. The East African Rift is tearing the continent slowly in two, with new cracks opening in Kenya as recently as a few years ago. Over millions of years, this rift will create a brand new ocean, and the African continent will never look the same again. You can literally walk on land today that will one day become the floor of a future sea. And if that doesn't bend your mind enough, think about the fact that there are entire places on Earth that humans are forbidden to visit. One of them is North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Islands. The people living there have been isolated for tens of thousands of years and reject all contact with the outside world. The Indian government has banned anyone from going near to protect both the islanders and outsiders. It is like a time capsule of humanity, a place where geography has kept people untouched by the modern age. And let me add this chilling twist: there is a place in Turkmenistan known as the Door to Hell. It is a massive gas crater that has been burning non-stop since 1971. Scientists set it on fire to prevent the spread of poisonous gases, thinking it would burn out in weeks, but more than 50 years later, it is still raging, glowing in the desert night like a portal to another world. Then let's keep unraveling, because the deeper we go, the stranger this planet becomes. Picture this: in Venezuela there's a phenomenon called Catatumbo lightning. It happens at the mouth of the Catatumbo River, where lightning storms can rage for up to 260 nights a year, lasting 10 hours at a time, striking up to 28 times per minute. The skies there almost never rest. Sailors used to navigate by this endless storm, calling it the Lighthouse of Maracaibo. It's the only place on Earth where the atmosphere seems wired to never stop flashing. Now think about oceans. You might imagine they're all connected and constantly mixing, but some waters refuse to blend. Near the Gulf of Alaska, you can see a sharp line where glacial meltwater meets the Pacific. The silty, mineral-rich water is so different in density and chemistry that it resists mixing with the deep blue sea. The sight of two oceans colliding but never merging looks like the planet is split in half by color. Then there's a shocking fact from the Himalayas. Mount Everest might be the dream climb for adventurers, but the deadliest mountain is actually Annapurna. The fatality rate there is far higher than on Everest. The geography of steep slopes, avalanches, and unpredictable weather makes Annapurna a mountain that has claimed the lives of more than a third of those who dared to reach its summit. Geography here doesn't just shape landscapes, it decides survival. And here is one that bends your sense of time. Did you know there's a point on Earth where you can stand in the present and see yesterday? It's in the Pacific Ocean, on the international dateline near the islands of Fiji and Tonga. Just by sailing a few kilometers east or west, you can literally leave today and enter tomorrow, while still looking back at where you've been. No science fiction machine, just the way humans drew a line on the globe. Let's move underground again. In Mexico, inside the Nika mine, there are crystals so massive that they look like something from another planet. Some are 12 meters long, weighing 55 tons, formed in sweltering chambers of 58 degrees Celsius. These giant selenite crystals are among the largest natural crystals ever found on Earth, and stepping inside feels like entering the skeleton of a sleeping giant. And now a fact that most people never believe: Africa is the only continent that spans all four hemispheres, north, south, east, and west. Its sheer size is almost beyond comprehension. You could fit the United States, China, India, and most of Europe inside Africa's landmass and still have space left over. Geography textbooks rarely prepare the mind for just how enormous it truly is. And here's a final jolt for this round. There is a place in the Pacific Ocean called Point Nemo, and it is so remote that the nearest humans to it are not on land but actually aboard the International Space Station orbiting above. This oceanic pole of inaccessibility is the farthest point from any coastline on Earth, more than 2,600 kilometers from land in every direction. If you ever found yourself drifting there, you'd be closer to astronauts than to another living human. Imagine this: there is a river in Africa that flows backwards for part of the year. The Congo River, the second largest in the world by volume, actually reverses its flow when heavy rains cause the water level of the Atlantic Ocean to rise. For a period of time, the river is literally forced upstream, defying everything we think we know about rivers. Now let's talk about islands that play tricks with identity. Take Bouvet Island, a tiny speck in the South Atlantic controlled by Norway. It is often called the most remote island on Earth, surrounded by thousands of kilometers of open ocean. No one lives there, no native animals walk its volcanic slopes, and the nearest land is Antarctica itself. It is so cut off that if you were stranded, rescue would be nearly impossible. But the strangest island story may belong to Diomede Islands in the Bering Strait. Just 4 kilometers apart, one belongs to Russia and the other to the United States. Here's the mind-bender: they are separated not just by water but by 21 hours of time. On one island it is already tomorrow, while on the other it is still today. You can literally look across the water and see into the future. And then there's Africa's Lake Victoria, which feeds the Nile, the longest river on Earth. But the real shock comes when you realize that the Nile flows north, one of the very few major rivers in the world that does. From deep in East Africa, it winds through deserts and civilizations, defying the usual southward or eastward river paths. The Nile's direction shaped the rise of ancient Egypt, a society that built its empire around a river that flows opposite to expectation. Here's a fact that challenges imagination: the Dead Sea, located between Israel and Jordan, is so salty that you cannot sink. Its salinity is nearly 10 times that of the ocean. The water pushes your body up like an invisible chair, making it impossible to dive or drown in the usual way. And at 430 meters below sea level, it is also the lowest point on land anywhere on Earth. And then there's Lake Baikal in Siberia, a place that holds a fifth of the world's unfrozen freshwater. It is so deep that if all the rivers on Earth were diverted into it, it would take them over a year to fill it. Scientists say it is the oldest lake in the world, more than 25 million years old, and home to creatures found nowhere else, including a freshwater seal. The sheer scale makes you realize we still know so little about what lies beneath. And to take it one step further, there's a place on Earth where fire and ice meet. In Iceland, volcanoes erupt beneath glaciers, creating explosions of steam and ash that can split landscapes apart. The island sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where continents are literally drifting away from each other. You can even walk inside a fissure in Ingvellir National Park and place one hand on North America and the other on Europe. Few places on Earth let you touch two continents at once. Then let's keep going, because the Earth still hides facts that sound unreal. For instance, there's a spot in the Pacific Ocean known as the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the planet's seabed. At its lowest point, Challenger Deep, it plunges nearly 11 kilometers beneath the surface. If Mount Everest were dropped into it, its peak would still be almost 2 kilometers underwater. The pressure there is over 1,000 times greater than its sea level, yet scientists have discovered life forms that somehow survive in that crushing darkness. Now let's move to Africa again, to the Sahara Desert. Most people think of endless sand dunes, but here's the shocker: the Sahara wasn't always a desert. Just 10,000 years ago it was a lush green land with rivers, lakes, and even hippos roaming freely. Ancient cave paintings show giraffes and elephants, proof that the region once supported life. Climate shifts turned it into the desert we know today, a transformation so massive it rewrote human migration patterns. But deserts can also hold mysteries beneath them. In Mauritania lies the Eye of the Sahara, also called the Rickhat structure. From space, it looks like a giant bullseye carved into the earth, a circular formation 40 kilometers wide. For years people thought it was an asteroid impact crater, but geologists now believe it is a deeply eroded geological dome. Astronauts even use it as a landmark from orbit. It is so massive that you can only fully see its shape from space. And if you thought rivers only run on land, think again. In the Amazon basin, there is a hidden river called the Hamza, discovered by scientists only recently. It runs parallel to the Amazon River, but underground, stretching for thousands of kilometers beneath the surface. It's like the Earth has a secret second Amazon flowing silently out of sight. Here's another twist of reality: in Italy, there's a volcano called Campi Flegrei, a supervolcano near Naples. It doesn't look like a classic cone-shaped mountain but instead a massive caldera stretching across towns and coastlines. Scientists say it has erupted catastrophically in the past and still shows signs of activity today. Millions of people live on top of this restless giant, often unaware of the true scale beneath their feet. And then there's a river that disappears. The Finca River in Australia is believed to be the oldest river in the world, dating back more than 300 million years. Parts of it still flow, but large stretches vanish into sandy desert before reappearing elsewhere. It's a ghost river, tracing a path that predates the modern continents themselves. To end this round with a mindbender, let's head back to Asia. In China lies the city of Chongqing, where more than 30 million people live, making it larger in population than most countries. Its geography is so complex, built on mountains and rivers, that roads, bridges, and skyscrapers intertwine like a maze. Some metro lines actually pass through buildings, and escalators are longer than city blocks. It is proof that human geography can be just as unbelievable as natural geography. There is a lake in Canada called Lake Manicouagan, shaped like a perfect ring you can even see from space. It's not man-made. It was formed by a meteorite impact over 200 million years ago. Today it looks like a massive circular scar on Earth's surface, filled with water, and it's so striking that astronauts call it the Eye of Quebec. Now head south to South America, where Angel Falls in Venezuela drops nearly a kilometer from the top of a flat-topped mountain. That's the tallest uninterrupted waterfall in the world, so high that the water turns into mist before it ever reaches the ground. Locals called it Karapakupai Meru, waterfall of the deepest place, long before it stunned outsiders. But here's something even stranger: in the Atacama Desert in Chile, some spots haven't seen rain for centuries. NASA scientists use the Atacama's soil to simulate Martian conditions, because it's one of the driest places on Earth. And yet, hidden in this desert, there are valleys where rare rainstorms awaken fields of pink and purple flowers, carpeting the wasteland in sudden color. Now let me show you a trick of ice. In Antarctica, there's a river called the Blood Falls, where bright red water flows out of a glacier into the snow. The shocking color isn't blood, but iron-rich water from beneath the ice that oxidizes when it touches air. Still, when you see crimson streams pouring through white ice, it feels like the planet itself is bleeding. And here's a fact that seems impossible: the Pacific Ocean is shrinking while the Atlantic Ocean is growing. Tectonic plates are moving in such a way that, slowly, the Pacific is getting smaller every year, while the Atlantic expands. Millions of years from now, the maps we know today will be unrecognizable. Continents are not fixed, they drift like slow-motion rafts across liquid stone. Now think about places with names that don't match reality. Greenland, for example, is mostly covered in ice, while Iceland has green fields and relatively mild weather. This misleading naming dates back to Viking explorers, but today it feels like a cruel joke in geography class. And then there's something that bends logic completely: Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. It rises out of the African savanna as a snow-capped peak right next to the equator. Standing there, you see zebras and elephants at the base while glaciers shine at the summit. Nowhere else on Earth does tropical heat meet frozen mountaintop in such dramatic fashion. And one last jolt for now: in the US state of Maine, there's a house that technically belongs to Canada. The borderline slices through the town of Escart Station, so some homes and even the post office straddle two countries. Residents sometimes have to go through border control just to walk into their own kitchen. Geography here isn't just strange, it's a daily puzzle. And so, we come to the close of this journey together. I'm Apple from AppleKnows, and what we've uncovered is only a glimpse of how wildly unpredictable our planet really is. From rivers that vanish into deserts, to mountains taller than we imagine, to oceans that collide but refuse to mix, Earth constantly reminds us that reality can feel stranger than fiction. The more you learn, the more you realize that geography isn't just about maps and borders, it's about mysteries, extremes, and stories written directly into the planet itself. Thank you for staying with me through these unbelievable facts. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive, because the world is far crazier than anyone ever expects.